touch her! David, don't let them touch her! David, don't let them touch her! Don't let them touch her!
Please!
What are you going to do? Please, listen to reason.
We'll leave the city. Please, Jeffrey.
Let us go. We
Let
won't
us
tell
leave
him.
the city.
You don't have to leave the city. Nothing changes. You can have the same life, the same clothes, the same car.
But what happens to us?
You'll be born again into an untroubled world. Free of anxiety, fear,
Wait.
hate.
David, you're killing us.
That's not true. David's right. Your minds and memories will be totally absorbed. Everything remains intact.
You agreed with him in your life before. What are you talking about? What are you... David, you're killing me.
Right, more codes in the COVID idea. And obviously there's a lot of codes packed into this COVID idea. And one of them being the cooled hex. So it's basically the cooled hex. And all you do is simply swap the 7 round for the 6. You know, swap the 7 for the 6. And you've got this COVID from the cooled. You can follow that. And simply the cooled hex, right? And obviously cooled is the opposite of hot, which is like global warming and all this, right? So you've got the global warming idea going on, the heat idea, and this is the cooled idea. You see what I mean? So you've always got that Masonic duality stuff within these operations and that, right? So obviously the sort of global warming's the idea of the T's moving to prominence. In the air, the cooled idea has to do with, you know, like moving the naturals down in order and all that. So obviously to do with herding the naturals into their position and all that, where they want them type of thing, see, underground, out of society and all that. And there's more codes in it. There's like the ID idea, right? And the ID idea, which is like identification type of thing, right? And someone said it was Yaki Dai, and that Yaki Dai said it was suggested the idea of the sort of identification, like the identification papers, and you know, like passports, and you know, like this technological stuff, like the Big Brother stuff, like the biometric IDs and all that type of thing. You know what I mean? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that type of ID. It could also just be the type of thing of like identifying, right? So like identifying as in sort of looking and sort of seeing and sort of ascertaining what something is, right? So it could be the type of idea of the identifying sort of naturals walking around, or identifying your own sort of fellow brothers walking around, like from the Masonic perspective and all that. You see what I mean? So it could be like the identify, you know, via this sort of you know, because of the type of supermarkets idea and all this, to identify a natural in a supermarket or something and maybe hustle them or something, you know what I mean? It's just stupid things like that. Could be that type of identification idea within it, right? And obviously like the type of cover your identity type of thing, you know. So if you're like T, you know, don't be like too obviously looking like a T, but cover your identity. So you put your face mask on and all that. So it could be that type of idea in it. Identity type of thing, right? And I was thinking about how the sort of the idea of like when naturals are walking around in that, right? And the way sort of T's basically identify naturals and all that, right? And this is the way they exploit and manipulate naturals and all that, right, as well, is by the emotions, right? Because obviously it's all about stirring up the emotions and exploiting emotions and that, you know, because the T's supposedly, theoretically, or not, are supposedly in control of their emotions type of thing, right? And the naturals are like, you know, wild beasts, you know, like you know, totally enslaved to their own emotional feelings and all that, right? That's the sort of theory behind it and all that. So I was thinking about that old movie, right, which was Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? And they remade it a lot of times, and that, so obviously it was an important idea, like to the royal court and all that, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers idea, right? which obviously if you look at the type of idea of that movie and that, it's like a direct metaphor for the sort of the T's taking over the place and all that thing, like that invasion of the body snatchers, right? And the most interesting one is the one made in the 70s, which was Donald Sutherland. And in this one, right, in this one, is sort of the people, the normal people, right, who were not sort of body snatched or whatever, were sort of walking around and they had to hide their emotions and that, right. And if any of these sort of body snatchers or the ones that had been snatched or whatever, right, seen the natural or the normal person, right, metaphorically it would be the natural, right, but if they seen a normal person walking around, then they would sort of stop and point at them and sort of emit this high-pitched squeal or something, right, if you watch this movie and that, right. It's kind of good movie and that, if you ever see it and all, that's like a, you know, direct metaphor type of thing, right. And so you've got that idea within that, it totally reminds us of that, like that sort of identifying type of idea, you see. Like obviously they create hassle for naturals and that in the everyday life and all that. And probably, you know, that's probably the intention of it, you know, to create a lot of hassle for naturals and that, to drive them further underground and stuff, you know what I mean. Yeah, that would be the intentions, see. And it reminds us of that invasion of the body snatchers idea, right? And the earliest one, the earliest invasion of the body snatchers, what was it? I think the bloke was called Kevin McCarthy or something, and it was meant to be a metaphor for the McCarthy witch hunt trials or something, right? Which was around about that stage at the 1950s. Of course, that was just a load of hex and all that, you know, just a basic load of rubbish about communism and all that, right? But they were introducing like the type of ideas about, you know, communism and right-wingism and all that through that stuff. And in that particular movie, the bloke says something at the end, which is like the famous quote. I forget exactly what it is now, but it's like something like they're coming to get you or something like that, and it became a famous like quotation type of thing and all that, right? So obviously these movies are very, very much a metaphor for the sort of Masonic plans and that, of replacing sort of naturals with T's, right, in all aspects in that, right. And another thing it reminds us of is that Damien Fawn thing and that, you know, the final conflict and all that, where the sort of all the people, right, come to the sort of spot and that they worship Damien Fawn, right, and they're all sort of from disparate rules in society, like lollipop ladies and policemen and traffic wardens and all this type of thing, and they'll, you know, and they'll come from to sort of worship Damien Fawn at this place and all that, right. And it's again, you've got that sort of direct Masonic metaphor in there, like the of the sort of society, you know what I mean, all the different rules in society being occupied by these type of you know, people, right. Like I say, the metaphors obviously for the tea drinkers and all that, and they're all sort of coming to replace the naturals in their sort of rules and all that, see. And of course this would fit in with all the different stuff you see, you know what I mean, like immigration and all that, because obviously you know, when they're doing immigration, they're basically immigrating in tea drinkers, right. They're not immigrating in sort of naturals, they're immigrating in tea drinkers, so wherever they're from in that, in terms of immigration, they're basically going to be tea drinkers, you know, for purposes of fulfilling the sort of Masonic grand scheme and all that, replacing all naturals in the sort of own you know, lives and all that. It's like a direct correlation to that invasion of the body snatchers idea, you see what I'm saying?